What is going on, Pats Nation? You guys already know who it is. Patriots Global here back with another video. And guys, football is back. Football is finally, well, it's close to being back. And this is our first official step into finally getting football back, guys. And I am so excited. So excited that I'm ripping out my equipment, but so excited to be able to actually start breaking down practices for you guys. Now, this is going to be our first recap here for media availability for the New England Patriots OTAs. A couple of just disclaimers here. Remember that this is organized team activities that are optional. So just because a player is not necessarily there, especially a veteran, does not necessarily mean anything bad. But guys, we have so much information for one day of OTA. You would think that it's training camp. There is so much to talk about, so much to break down. So before we hop into today's video and roll the Patriots Global intro, make sure you guys do leave a big like on the video, guys. It takes less than a second and it's completely free and it helps the channel out tremendously, more than you possibly could know. So do me a favor, if you want to see more of these videos and just support the channel, leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for all of your New England Patriots news, because I will break you guys down for every single practice that we are able to get information about. So without further ado, let's hop into today's video. Alrighty, guys, I also do want to say that I will be trying to upload some clips from today's practice on my YouTube channel. We will see how that goes. See if I get copyrighted, because if I get copyrighted, unfortunately, I will have to take it down. So if I do get copyrighted, look for it on either Instagram, Twitter, or my TikTok. If things don't work out on YouTube, that's where those videos will be. But we did get a couple of highlight clips. So one of my platforms, you will see that on. But let's hop into today's video. So overall, guys that were absent: Juju Smith-Schuster, Trent Brown, Michael Onwenu, Chasen Hines, Matthew Judon, Christian Barmore, Lawrence Guy, Christian Gonzalez, Isaiah Bolden, Nick Folk, and Joe Cardona. So straight off the bat, some of these do not surprise me. Joe Cardona, not much of a surprise there. Nick Folk usually isn't really present for these types of things, although this might be a year where he needs to be present. Christian Gonzalez, to me, was probably the biggest standout there. Kind of ironic that the first day of media availability and our first round pick just isn't there. I don't think it's anything to actually look into that a lot of people are trying to speculate that it is, but unfortunately, we do have to wait to see our first extended look at Christian Gonzalez here. We know that Michael Onwenu not present there at practice is because he got surgery. He's not going to be there for OTAs in general, has nothing to do supposedly with his contract and just to do with injuries. So nothing to worry about there. And then as for guys like, Matthew Judon, Lawrence Guy and whatnot, also doesn't surprise me. Those veterans usually are not there for optional practices. But I was a little surprised Christian Barmore wasn't there. Now, he did deal with a little bit of injuries this past year. Maybe he's just looking out for the longevity of himself and getting ready for mini camp and then training camp. But definitely something to look into. Now, limited. Ramondre Stevenson was limited today in practice. Now, this one also did not surprise me, because it doesn't surprise me. Maybe Ramondre Stevenson is dealing with a little something behind the scenes. He was the Patriots' bell cow running back the entirety of last year. He dealt with multiple injuries behind the scene that he had to push through because the Patriots already had Damian Harris, their other running back at RB2, who was not able to get on the field and play. So I do think Ramondre Stevenson is dealing with a couple of things that will limit him at least the start of the offseason. But I think at the end of the day, as long as he's good to go for training camp, that's all that matters. And at the end of the day, these younger guys were able to get more reps because of it. Kayshon Boutte was also somebody who was limited. No surprise there. Somebody who dealt with injuries his last year of college and this offseason. And Marte Mapu, another guy who we knew was dealing with some injuries also. So no surprise there. We did have a couple of guests in today's building. Former coach Ivan Fears and Patriots former safety Devin McCourty were both there at practice today. Now, you'll hear me talk about this when I talk about the safeties as I break down each position, but there was a lot of rotation in Devin McCourty's former spot. What better way to figure out who's best for that replacement than to bring in the guy whose spot you're ultimately replacing. So Devin McCourty, obviously not an actual coach or taking on a coaching role, at least right now, but the fact that he's at least in the building, helping the Patriots out in some capacity to teach some of these younger guys and just figure out how to fulfill the spot that he essentially is leaving behind, I think is going to go a long way for the Patriots. And then Ivan Fears, a guy who, yeah, he's been retired for a couple of years now, but he goes such a long way, still coming back to these practice as a guest and still kind of voicing his thoughts, his opinions. And although not an official coach, he still has some type of coaching duty to help some of these younger guys out. So I think that's absolutely big for the Patriots that both of those guys were there. Now, Bill O'Brien today, I heard a lot of great things. Very, very vocal. You could hear this guy no matter where you are on the practice field. You knew he was out there and you knew that he was a dominant voice in terms of the Patriots coaching staff. He takes command of the offense, and just the drills in general looked a lot different from the notes that I was hearing today. Now we talk about a guy that has brought the Patriots some harm this past week, and Mr. Joe Judge. You might love this. You might hate this. Joe Judge was not involved at all with the offense, but he was heavily involved today with the Patriots special teams drills. In what capacity is he going to take over? Is he the Patriots overall special teams coordinator, or is he just a special teams coach? That's going to be my big question on where does Joe Judge lie upon the Patriots' current coaching staff, something we won't know for a while still, but it sounds like he could be the guy taking over the reins for the Patriots' overall special teams, especially with how Cam McCord has kind of had this special teams looking the last couple of seasons. Now, today in general was big on the short passing game and working on the screens. Today, the Patriots are just trying to get down the fundamentals. That's what they're going to do early on. You might not see a lot of big splash plays down the field. And I think that's going to scare a lot of people straight off the bat. Oh no, the Patriots going back to the short to intermediate passing game with screens and plays behind the line of scrimmage to start. They're still going to identify with the same team they've been the last several years, even a little bit last year. And right now, they're just trying to get those fundamentals down because Bill Belichick loves those dang screens. Excuse me. Now, moving on here to the quarterbacks as we start to break down each individual position. Mac Jones was stellar today. This dude was on the absolute money, and he is backing up my theory that Mac Jones will be a back-end top 10 quarterback in the National Football League. So keep it up, please, Mac Jones, and don't make me look bad. But on 11 on 11 today, Mac Jones was a perfect 11 for 11. Bailey Zappi was 8 for 9 with an interception, and then Trace McSorley was 3 for 5 with an interception. With 7 on 7s, Mac Jones was a perfect 3 for 3. Bailey Zappi was 2 for 3, and McSorley was 1 for 2. Now, reps-wise, Mac Jones was clearly your starter. He was being treated as the top quarterback overall. It doesn't seem like there's any quarterback competition, at least as of right now. I don't expect that there's going to be any quarterback competition in general, but some people were speculating it. So if you're somebody that thought there was a real quarterback competition between Mac Jones and maybe Bailey Zappi, so far it's not looking like that whatsoever. Now, speaking of Patriots quarterbacks, UDFA quarterback Malik Cunningham was not wearing a red standard jersey for the quarterbacks. As we all know, I think this is a league-wide thing. If you're a quarterback in practice, you distinguish yourself by wearing a red jersey with your number on it. Every other player is going to wear a white jersey. The only other players that will not is if you're injured and you're wearing a red no-contact jersey. But today, Malik Cunningham was not wearing that red jersey to distinguish himself as a quarterback, as he was wearing a white jersey. He was actually practicing in multiple areas, being a ball carrier in ball carrying drills. He was working as a receiver too. He actually had the play of the day that we will talk about later on. And he also still did a little bit of work with the quarterbacks after practice. But in terms of what he did during practice, it wasn't working as a quarterback. It was working as more of a Swiss Army knife unit for the Patriots offense. So something interesting to note there. As for the running backs, our young running backs here with Ramondre Stevenson out, Pierre Strong and Kevin Harris got a lot of work today. They were the main running backs there, not Ty Montgomery. And we'll get into Ty Montgomery here in a second. But I like that these young running backs are getting the opportunity right now, right? I think Kevin Harris is in a position where he very much can succeed now that Damian Harris is gone. He's that Damian Harris clone, not as explosive for sure, but he can easily take over that thumping role, that short yardage, that goal line back type of role for the Patriots. He just has to solidify himself into it. And I think getting him reps early on is going to be very important. And then obviously with Pierre Strong, who the Patriots drafted in the 4th round, you got to get him implemented one way or another. Now, like I said before, speaking of Ty Montgomery, he actually was involved today, just not so much in terms of the running game. He was more involved in terms of the passing game. And we know that that's Ty Montgomery's role. He's more of a receiving back. He'll give you a couple of rushing attempts now and then, but mainly a receiving back. And that's what he did today. Had a nice practice and was pretty much involved for the majority of the practice, especially with the starters, and got a lot of work within the passing game. Now, moving on here to the wide receivers. As for drops, Tyquan Thornton had 1 drop. Riley Webb also had a drop. Now, Thornton did burn Myers today on a deep touchdown pass from Mac Jones. Didn't see a lot of deep action today in general. That was one of the big ones, but it looks like, at least from what I'm hearing from practice today, that Mac Jones and Tyquan Thornton are actually getting on the same page. Seems like they were working on that chemistry this offseason, and it's starting to show up, and they connected today on a deep ball. Now, of course, it was against Miles Bryant, not exactly the biggest of competition, but nonetheless, they were still building that chemistry. Overall, today was a very nice day for Tyquan Thornton, who, from what was said, was actually the best wide receiver on the field today. Now, of course, Juju Smith-Schuster wasn't there. He was going up against a lot of younger and rookies, but it does still stay something. But he did show a good rapport with Mac Jones and was very, very involved today. Now, some news that I was very happy to hear was Patriots 6th round pick, Demario Douglas, a guy who I said, to me, I think can make a bigger impact overall than Kayshon Boutte, right? When I think of Kayshon Boutte and I think of Demario Douglas, I think Demario Douglas has the higher floor. Kayshon Boutte has the higher ceiling. It will surprise me a little bit more to see Kayshon Boutte pop off. It would surprise me a little bit less to see Demario Douglas pop off. But Demario Douglas was seeing the ball a lot his way today. He was involved heavily today. Now, unfortunately, it wasn't with the Patriots starting team offense. It wasn't with Mac Jones. It was the second team. But still, at the end of the day, those guys in Demario Douglas and Kayshon Boutte, they're not going to run with the starter straight off the bat. They got to work their way up as 6th round picks, right? We do still have a fairly crowded wide receiver room with Devontae Parker and Kendrick Bourne and Tyquan Thornton, Juju and whatnot. Those guys are going to have to climb the charts, but he's looking very, very good so far. As for the receivers, Malik Cunningham, and this is what I wanted to talk to you guys about. Malik Cunningham made the play of the day as the receiver. Was he the best overall receiver? No, but he didn't have a drop, and he made the play of the day. So this is what you like to hear early on from a quarterback potentially transitioning to a Swiss Army knife, but made the play. Excuse me, guys. But made the play of the day today, leaping grab over 7-on-7s on a pass thrown behind his back from Trace McSorley. So a ball that probably overall wasn't that great because it was from Trace McSorley, but he was able to adjust and overall make the play of the day today. Now, moving on here to tight ends, not a whole lot to talk about, not a whole lot to say. We did get a little bit of some highlight clips here from Mike Gesicki, which, like I said, I will try to include. But Hunter Henry and Mike Gesicki were both equally as involved with the first team offense. No surprise there. We're talking a lot about 12 personnel and 2 tight end sets, something that overall, like I said, would not surprise me. Offensive line here. This is what I really wanted to dive in, was hoping we're going to get a lot of information about, just kind of looking at what was this offensive line going to look like? How do they view these offensive tackles more specifically, and really the interior also? So the Patriots' first team offensive line today. Now, keep in mind, Trent Brown was out, so don't think Trent Brown just wasn't included. With Trent Brown out, from left to right, we had Calvin Anderson at left, then Cole Strange, David Andrews, Bill Murray. With Michael Onwenu out, Bill Murray got the first team right guard snaps. Something to take away as he transitioned this past year from from defensive tackle to guard. And then Riley Reiff was your right tackle. Now, Riley Reiff, Calvin Anderson, and Connor McDermott all rotated at each of the tackle positions with Trent Brown absent, just meaning that with all 3 of those guys, they were transitioning between left tackle and right tackle. And that's been the name of the game for the Patriots this offseason, getting guys with a lot of versatility who can play on different sides. They're just going to see which guys can play best at each position before they overall start giving those guys starting positions and start kind of just overall building continuity along the offensive line. Now, Patriots guard City South, who they drafted in the 2023 draft, was getting reps today at right tackle. We knew they were going to do this. Reports came out right away after drafting him that they were going to do this. He has experience at left tackle, though, but they're trying him at right tackle. Interesting. Maybe they're trying a little Mike Onwenu action, and we'll ultimately see how that goes, but that is a storyline that we definitely do need to watch. Now, before we do continue on with today's video, I do want to give a massive shout out to the sponsors of this channel over at FanDuel, guys. The Celtics might have disappointed us, but you guys can still make a fast break to FanDuel during the NBA playoffs because right now new customers can get a no sweat first bet up to $1,000. That is $1,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet does not hit, guys. The thing that I love most about FanDuel is how safe and secure it is. Whether you're using their app or you are using their website, you can confirm that it is going to be 100% safe and 100% secure, and that your money is never, ever going to be hacked or tampered with. That is always most important to me when I am betting, is that I do it safe and I do it responsibly. The other great thing is that you get paid out instantly, right? You don't have to wait hours. You don't have to sit there refreshing the page. As soon as your bet hits, your money is there. That's the great thing about them. Quick, fast, easy money. And the other great way about FanDuel is that they have new promotions every single day. So if you do want to make some fast, quick, and easy money, go look at their new promotions every single day, guys. They got new ones always floating in order for you to make some quick money. And there is no better place to bet on all of the playoff action than America's #1 sportsbook. Visit FanDuel.com/Boston to get a no sweat first bet up to $1,000. That is FanDuel.com/Boston. FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA, guys. A little disclaimer: make sure you are 21 in select states. First online real money wager only of a $10 deposit is required. A refund issued as a non-withdrawable bonus after that bet does expire in 14 days. Restrictions do apply. Now, if you or somebody you know is having a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. Now, let's finish off here with today's video as we pop today into the defense. Now, defensive line, there's really not a whole lot to talk about because unfortunately with the defensive line and the offensive line, there's really not a whole lot to talk about because it's not padded. It's not contact, right? So you can't take a whole lot away from the O-line or the D-line. The only thing you can really take away is who are your starters and who are the rotational pieces. So the only thing we have about the defensive line is about second-round pick Keon White. From what they're saying, this dude is a large human being. You might think he's large when they drafted him, but he's much larger in person. But today he saw a lot of first-team reps with the Patriots defense. Obviously, this doesn't surprise at all. Matthew Judon was out. Christian Barmore was out. Lawrence Guy was out. This is a guy that can play inside and outside versatility within the defensive line. So doesn't surprise that he did get bumped up to some first-team opportunities. As for linebackers, Marte Mapu today was lining up in multiple spots. It wasn't exactly said what spots he was lining up, but it does look like maybe the Patriots are not eyeing him at one specific position. I think that he's more of a linebacker at this point than he is a safety, especially with the Patriots losing Raekwon McMillan, but maybe they view him as a kind of game-to-game positional versatility type of player. Like, hey, we're going to use you at linebacker this week because we need you, but we're playing the Buffalo Bills or the Chiefs this coming week. We need more defensive backs on the field in coverage, so we're going to play you this week more as a hybrid linebacker to maybe a box safety. So something interesting there. Moving on here to the cornerbacks. Miles Bryant had one interception today, so although he did get burnt on a long touchdown from Mac Jones to Tyquan Thornton working with the first team, he did still have an interception. Moving on to the safeties here, we did have a couple more interceptions. We had a total of 3 interceptions today by the Patriots defense, none of which came from our starting quarterback in Mac Jones. Jalen Mills, playing at safety, had 1 interception, and Brad Hawkins also had 1 interception. A guy that picked up midway this past season, or I should say midway through training camp this past season, a guy that I really liked coming out of the 2022 draft that I had a lot of potential. I'm glad they kept him around, and I think that there is some real potential with Brad Hawkins, and we'll see if he can get his name heard and get the back-end 53-man roster spot. Now, from what was said, they did everything at the safety position today to try to find that Devin McCourty replacement. Whether you're talking about Jonathan Jones, whether you're talking about Brad Hawkins, Jalen Mills, they were trying everybody, like everybody and their mother at the safety position to try to figure out who's going to replace Devin McCourty. Now, I said this early on. Maybe what they're showing us is that there's not going to be one full-time starter at the free safety position, and that maybe it's going to be more of a committee to replace Devin McCourty, at least early on. And maybe this is a sign of that. That is something to me that I will continue to keep my eye on as we learn about practices. But like I said, essentially every single safety and player was rotated into Devin McCourty's vacant spot. And as expected, Jalen Mills was working as a safety today. It doesn't look like Jalen Mills is going to be a cornerback for New England anymore. And that at some capacity, whether it's as a rover, free safety, strong safety, he is going to be a safety for the Patriots. Now, moving on to special teams here, we do have a little bit of news. And this one does concern me. This one does concern me because rookie kicker Chad Ryland is proving that he has a strong leg, but was inconsistent with his accuracy today. And as soon as the Patriots drafted him and I did my due diligence on him, this was my biggest fear is, are we getting a Quinn Nordine in this guy? A guy that, hey, he could kick from like 55, 60 yards. He has a big leg, but can he consistently kick it? Because the Patriots do not care how far you can kick the ball if you cannot consistently do it. They rather you only be able to kick from the 40 to 45, but do it 9 out of 10 times than you be able to kick from, the 55 to 60 yard line plus, but only be able to punch that ball in no matter where you are on the field 6 out of 10 times. So that's a big concern to me from Chad Ryland early on. And we're talking about Nick Folk being cut, but if Chad Ryland consistently plays like this and they cannot rely on him to kick the field goals consistently, he is not going to be your starting kicker come week 1, and Nick Folk will still be here. And I don't see the Patriots rolling with 2 kickers. So this means that the Patriots either would be releasing Chad Ryland, which I don't see happening, or they're going to try to go some injury, which would essentially leave him out for the entire season, because I don't see them straight up releasing him because he probably would not clear waivers to get back on your practice squad. But the Patriots do view kicker as a very, very important position, as they should, because it puts points up on the board. And with question marks around the offense, you do need a consistent kicker. So overall, not a great start here for Chad Ryland. But another special teams rookie is showing out, because Patriots rookie punter Bryce Behringer won the punter battle today between him and Corliss Waitman. Now, in terms of hang time, Behringer did have the better hang time. He had a 4.6 average hang time, as with Waitman, he had a 4.1. Now, it's early on still. We do have to continue to see how things do develop with, obviously, the kicker position and obviously how that punter position does still develop. But I said this earlier on, it would not surprise me if Nick Folk is still your kicker come week 1, and that some people were still kind of blowing this out of proportion a little bit early on. And as for punter, I think Bryce Behringer come week 1 easily is going to beat out Corliss Waitman, and could honestly do it easily before week 1 too. Like, we could hear that that Bryce Behringer is your starting punter halfway through training camp, and it wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. But this is going to be your guys' recap today of the New England Patriots' first practice of OTAs. What are your guys' thoughts? Let me know in the comment section below. Remember to leave a big like on this video, and of course, subscribe to the channel for all of your New England Patriots news. I appreciate you guys for watching as always, and never forget